Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Pitafi. Once again, we are going to talk about foreign policy. It is important because we are in the middle of many huge developments. On one side, we have seen what India has been doing in Kashmir, and regarding that also, Pakistan's foreign policy has been quite proactive. On the other side, when you talk about Afghan peace process, that is a big development too, and we anticipate some positive news in coming days and weeks. If that happens, of course, it is going to have a very positive impact in the region. Today we heard DGISPR also talking about various aspects, especially focused primarily on the situation in Indian occupied Kashmir, and that is important because India has continued incarcerating the Kashmiri people for over 31 days. There is curfew, the situation is bad, the circumstances are bad, and today also, while we are going to talk about that, we are also going to talk about the visit of two foreign ministers, one of Saudi Arabia, and the other visit is from the foreign minister of UAE. These things are important. Naturally, then in coming days, we are going to see other visits also, a visit from China, a visit also from Afghanistan and elsewhere. So what exactly is the inside scoop? We are going to try and do justice to all these matters and more, to examine and understand how proactive is our foreign policy and what exactly is going to happen in coming days. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Naseem Siddiqui Saab, a senior journalist. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Dr. Mansoor Kundi, who is an expert on international relations. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Javed Jadoon Saab, a senior journalist. Needs no introduction, has been quite regular in this show. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Naseem Siddiqui Saab, I have to open with one very easy question. How proactive is our foreign policy?
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Thank you, Farooq. You can see that as compared to the previous governments, this time we have got foreign minister.
Okay. Why do you say at least?
Well, at least we have got now.
We had a foreign minister back then also, but
yeah,
prime
but
minister
this one
was
is very proactive, yeah?
Yeah.
So he is running here and there and trying his best. He has been visiting the countries before as well, on the matter of Afghanistan as well, and for Kashmir as well. Now you can see that he is engaged on telephones as well, speaking to the foreign ministers or foreign secretaries of other countries.
Yeah, he tweeted that he is talking at least to 2-3 people.
Yeah, at least I know that in the recent days he has been talking to around 35 foreign ministers.
No, but I'm talking about per day.
Per
You're
day.
talking about overall.
Overall
number.
in the few previous days. Today you have seen that the foreign minister from UAE and Saudi Arabia, they came as well. So yes, they are active at the moment.
And they are here to actually focus on Kashmir or Afghanistan or bilaterals?
They are focusing on the region at the moment. Afghanistan as well and on Kashmir as well. Because if there is peace in Afghanistan, we need peace in the region as well. So a bigger threat is at the moment is from India on the matter of Kashmir.
Right.
Whereas we can see that Afghanistan peace is going to be happening very soon.
Both these countries that you mentioned are business partners of India also. Do you think that they will be able to play a role in actually finding some kind of common ground between India and Pakistan?
Definitely, nowadays economic interests are very much seen. But definitely that's a humanitarian crisis as well in Kashmir.
Yeah.
And if they want to prove they are good friends of Pakistan and Muslims, they must even talk to India on this matter.
And on that, actually, one is impressed that similar kind of statements regarding human rights, Kundi Saab, actually come not from the Muslim world first, OIC of course, but primarily from the European countries. Like the Foreign Secretary of UK is talking about humanitarian crisis in Kashmir. Where exactly does our proactivity lie in foreign policy right now?
You know, as my friend mentioned, first I tell you, European Union and the non-Muslim world regarding human rights, genocide, they are more active
Yeah.
than they are.
Okay.
They are more vocal than they are. They are rather comparatively silent.
Okay.
But yeah,
Why are they comparatively silent, sir?
being a Muslim, being a regional, huge regional organization, OIC,
Right.
they should have should have badly condemned them.
No, they did actually. On record,
I believe,
categorically condemned what was happening
and
in
some,
Kashmir. OIC did, but
and some-
individual countries maybe not.
like you mentioned, one thing you must mention, India is having very close trade ties with Arab world.
I mentioned it.
And when you talk about bilateralism of foreign relationship, these things matters. National interest comes first, but not always, I tell you. But let me answer.
Hang on. Kundi Sahab, I love this argument. Every time when I talk about morality in the international system, I have to actually face this realist reply that for national interest matters. But why does
Not
it not?
always.
No, hang on. Why does it not matter when it comes to our role? People expect us to sacrifice all the time, our own interest, and for their sake.
Honestly, Pakistan in relationship have sacrificed their own national interest. Let me give you one example.
Sir.
Turkey, our old good friend, when they attack Cyprus, whole world condemn. We supported them. And what happened? I was a professor there in Istanbul.
Okay. Before you actually elaborate on this example, let me remind you, Turkey is one of those few Muslim countries which have categorically condemned Kashmiri situation. So I'm not going to actually go and complicate the situation
in American
more.
relationship, we even held them out of the way in Afghanistan at the
Right.
cost of our own national interest.
Yeah, that is important. And then we have to say that once we have delivered whatever we promised Javed Jadoon Saab, we have this lack of capacity of holding power. I mean, you helped the Western world win the Cold War, and after that you were the biggest victim, right? Right now, before I go there, I have to ask you where our foreign policy is right now, how proactive it is, and if you want to add to the discussion on the visit of two foreign ministers.
Thank you very much, Farooq. I think I would like to make a couple of points related to the discussion. One is that it would be a bit unjust to criticize our friendly countries for not speaking so openly. Farooq, we know that national interests are based on economic interest nowadays in the global community. And publicly, they might not be saying something, and they might be saying something not publicly. And today's visit,
UK doesn't have any national interest,
no,
trading interest in India.
No, I'm particularly talking about UAE and Saudi Arabia.
But I'm bringing in a third country, that
Third
is
country
UK,
as well.
which is not Muslim,
Exactly.
which is richer country, which
Exactly.
is better in business, which actually freed the region. It doesn't have any national interest regarding
basically,
India.
my point of view is we are expecting a bit too much from the global community. We don't understand that today's diplomacy is primarily driven by economic trade and commerce interests, and every country has its own trade and commerce interests, and I think global trade is probably the paradigm thing right now. And to understand the global politics, I think we are a bit emotional nation. We expect, look what we have done in the past, 70 years of diplomacy, and ultimately Mr. Modi does what he does, and he simply annexes the occupied territory and makes part of the union. And now, of course, I think I see a lot of activity going on part of the government, and particularly the Prime Minister. He has done a remarkable job in communicating with the world community.
Brilliant, yeah.
And he has spoken with almost every important leader in the world. And I think, Farooq, for the first time, we have seen the change not only in the state system, but in the media itself as well.
Yeah.
Important media outlets, influential media organizations like New York Times, Washington Post, Foreign Policy,
Even
and,
conservative
Foreign
publications,
Affairs,
yeah.
and the British newspapers, etc., Al Jazeera, as well. I I think we see a very, very positive change of the
Right.
global community, and they have been sensitized. And I would again say the credit goes to the Prime Minister of Pakistan, because he, everybody felt he was committed to bring about.
I mean, I have to compliment you on the pivot away from the question that I asked, but
Okay,
I have to bring you back to
Okay.
this
Because it was-
the pivot was very effective. But the question is, you said every country has national interest, and these days trade ties are essentially the national interest, right? What if I were to submit to you that when it comes to Muslim countries, especially Saudi Arabia and UAE, their primary interest lies not with India, but with Pakistan. If they can't see it, if we can't see it, this is strange.
But Farah, if you trace down the history of Kashmir issue and the response of the Muslim states, even in the past, they were not very vocal in criticizing India, whether it was the use of pellet guns in occupied Kashmir, blinding of the whole generation over there, killing the youth, and incarcerating the top leadership of the Hurriyat Conference as well. And even today, at least now they have been sensitized. Now I think government of Pakistan, the PTI-led government, probably has departed from the past policy, and probably they have put across the point in a very effective manner that, look, we need your support. We need your support on occupied Kashmir's issue. What Modi is doing over there, the genocide and ethnic cleansing, which is being carried out by the occupation.
Now
troops.
it is official.
It is
First,
official.
when Kashmir started, maybe there were two thoughts. But first Kashmir, and then you have seen what happened in Assam. It is Hitler on acid.
Exactly, about 2 million. About 2 million Muslims have been put in concentration camps.
Yeah.
And
Concentration
their
camps is a right word.
I think would be the right word. This is what exactly they're doing. They're putting them in the camps, citizenship cancelled, and he's playing to the gallery. Basically, we know that RSS and Sangh Parivar, they are the main driving force behind the foreign policy and the domestic policy as well. Mr. Modi probably is just a stooge in the hands of the RSS, and I think more powerful person, more than Modi, is Amit Shah.
He is India's first prime minister. During first year of his, getting elected as PM, he took his entire cabinet
Exactly.
in front of RSS and
Exactly.
then gave marathon presentations
Exactly.
to unelected people.
Exactly.
So
and Farah,
you're
even
right.
today, if you look at the troika, which is wielding power in New Delhi, apart from Mr. Modi, it is Amit Shah and Ajit Doval.
Okay.
And to some extent, I think even I would like to mention Rajnath Singh as well.
Okay.
But
You're
Amit
missing
Shah,
one big
Amit Shah has emerged.
You are missing General Rawat.
General Rawat. Of course, I think I'm talking about the BJP hierarchy
Right.
here.
They are BJP
and,
hierarchy. I mean, you have to see that, right? But Naseem Siddiqui Sahab, since we are talking about morality, human rights, the statement that I saw coming from the Foreign Secretary of the UK was very categorical. He said that human rights is an international issue, whether you like it or not. It cannot be reduced to bilaterals. How relevant is morality in international politics?
In Europe especially, there is very high grounds for morality. So before we were just talking about Kashmir and nobody was looking at that, but that what's happening in Kashmir. Kashmir issue was not of an interest for the Europe or for the Britain. But when Prime Minister Imran Khan has raised the issue of RSS, the Hindutva, whatever Modi is doing in India, he is killing the ethnic minorities. He just want to bring the Hindustan as for Hindus only. And when it has been compared with Hitler and Nazism, that's a shocking thing for the Europeans, for the European people. Then they want to listen what's happening. When they listen the name of Nazis or Hitler, so they take interest.
You actually hold a population of 8 million, 9 million without their rights for 30 days, 31 days, right? Then there is the mention of 2 million people who have been rendered stateless, and you claim they are Bangladeshi. and they are you don't have any repatriation with Bangladesh, that means they are going to spend their life in perpetual incarceration within India, right? It is concentration camps. And then, like SS and SR of Hitler, you have Bajrang Dal actually tormenting people on streets.
Yeah.
So you think that the world has not been able to see it so far, what Modi is?
Word was not saying like this, but we.
Why not? They have good nostrils.
Yeah, yeah.
So
but
they should be able to, catch on to stink.
I can say that Indian media is very much stronger as compared to ours one. They promote their media very well, very tactfully. But this time we have been working very nicely. The government is working very actively. The foreign ministry is working very actively. Our media is doing something as well. So people now know that there is too many atrocities and brutality in Kashmir happening at the moment, and it's a serious humanitarian crisis in Kashmir. So people internationally has started raising their voice. You can see articles in New York Times, you can see articles in Guardians. It never happened before. So
Right.
this time the foreign policy of Pakistan is going in the right direction, and we are raising
Foreign
voice
policy or external publicity?
and
policy?
external publicity as well. We are with social media as well. Our media is working as well. You have seen demonstrations in London. First time I have seen that much people in the demonstrations.
Yeah, we saw the
in
picture
London.
of actually statue of Gandhi actually
he was
holding
the flag of Kashmir.
Kashmir,
So
yeah.
we are acting very promptly and very well at the moment externally and on the front of.
Again, it was a very good pivot. Professor Dr. Kundi, there is a reason why I actually brought up the matter of actually morality in international system. I remember one of my earliest interviews was career interviews 20 years ago was with Professor Stephen Cohen. And when I asked him, here, yeah. But the question was regarding various aspects of foreign policy, US-Pakistan relationship. There came a time when I had to ask him how relevant is morality in international system. And that was the first time he smiled, right? And he said that it is relevant, it is not irrelevant. The international system is built on the values of idealism, not realism. And yet, we somehow keep on thinking that everything is based on realism. Why is it so?
You know, there is a theory involved and practice.
Yeah.
Theoretically, international law is based on morality,
Idealism,
comity, this, that. But when it comes to realist paradigm, power paradigm, you see world is crudely divided into three states, categories. First world, second world, third world. And then there is always struggle for power, now become economic power.
First world, second world, third world, and then children of a lesser god like Kashmir.
Now you can say that there is a fourth world, children of lesser God, who being entitled under international law, morality you're mentioning, are deprived of. And one thing, you know, Kashmir has become a tragic and alarming flashpoint. And Kashmiri diaspora playing role, the publicity you mentioned, and then Modi correlated with Hitler Nazism. Mind it, Hitler Nazis were elected to power.
Exactly.
They didn't come through back door, and they believing in democratic morality, this, that, all of a sudden what they did against Jews, a part of history now. And so,
may I ask you another question, because you just brought up Jews, right? Are Muslims the new Jews? The Muslims of today, are they Jews of 1940s, 1930s?
what's going on in
Because they are facing similar kind of treatment.
Similar. I agree. I may be mistaken, but I agree. And what's going on there for the last 29 days, worse than that,
31 days actually, yeah.
worse than that, they are deprived of fresh food, they are deprived of all basic facilities. And one thing I tell you, what's going on, it's against, I have been teaching Indian political system for last 20 years. it will go against national interest of India, their democratic interest, and I believe against even their trade interest.
Right.
Because now
so there goes the argument that it is based on national interest out of the window. You're talking about Indian system, right? Their constitution is a bulwark against the dismemberment of the country. And it is also, the Supreme Court used to ensure that they are the protecting institution of the constitution. Now it seems that constitution is out of the window, institutions are out of the window.
mind it, it was based on Ambedkar's, Gandhism, Nehru's diplomacy, Nehru's democratic.
Three great leaders.
No,
in
they
India.
all being butchered, I believe. Not even they butchered their values.
Look
And one thing more.
Look at the brain power between the three of them. And now look at the brain power between the three of today's troika. And you are depressed, right? Let me go back to
But
Javed
let me interrupt you. One thing I
Sir, I
tell
have
you,
to- yeah.
if you look into Indian democracy and Indian national interest, I being a student of political science have done it, they have been inflicted by fanaticism. And now I see Modi another one.
Yeah, that is true. Modi might not be the worst of the lot now. You have seen Yogi, the CM, and then you have seen Sadhvi Pragya. They are saying now that Sadhvi Pragya might be the Prime Minister of India one day.
The
Architect
of Malegaon.
Malegaon and Samjhota terrorist attack and all that. But today, Javed Jadun Sahab, something important happened. In the past, we have been hearing news from the international press that people have been dying in Kashmir. But today, there was a formal acknowledgement of first official death in Indian occupied Kashmir by the Indian authorities. So at this moment, this issue that you have kept people away from civilization for 31 days, away from medicines also, food, supplies, and communication and transportation. Is it not a toxic issue, toxic enough, that it should once again go to the UNSC?
Absolutely.
When are we going to write a letter?
I think it is more than toxic. It is simply and very clearly aimed at ethnic cleansing.
Okay.
RSS goons are being sent to occupied valley. They are trying to resettle the Pandits over there, though they are not willing to go back because of the situation over there. And the aim and objective is to change the demography of occupied Kashmir, one. Secondly, they are trying to push the Muslims against the wall. They believe that they might pick up arms and put up an armed struggle. And there, they can label it as a terrorist movement and blame Pakistan as well for covertly supporting that particular movement. And thirdly, they have tested the patience of the global community, and they have probably reached a conclusion that there is not enough pressure on New Delhi to at least lift the draconian restrictions being imposed over there. I think Pakistan is not asking the global community to help liberate occupied Kashmir. What we are asking is to at least provide some relief to the people of occupied Kashmir.
Why are we not asking them to liberate Kashmir? I mean, when you are seeing humanitarian crisis, when you are seeing a power-drunk government totally hell-bent on destroying the rights of its people or people under its control, and we have seen what they are doing in Assam, is it not a moral imperative of the world to stop the next Hitler from rising, sir?
I think Prime Minister...
Shouldn't we be asking them that you have to intervene now?
I think time and again, Prime Minister has equated BJP and Mr. Modi with Nazism, with fascism.
No.
And I think
no, I'm
he has
not
been able
questioning
to...
that, Javed Jadun Sahab. I'm questioning the fact that we still, when we are actually arguing, we sort of are apologizing that, okay, we are not asking you to come and help us.
Exactly. I
You
think
are
there you're right.
facing-
There you're right.
We are facing the monster now.
I would agree with you that we should not be asking to provide relief to the people in occupied Kashmir. Instead, we should clearly and categorically ask the global community to liberate the Kashmiri people. At least when we ask to liberate them, they might be able to, or they might be willing to go to the extent of providing them some relief over there.
No.
Farooq, there are no
No,
medicines, no
once
food.
again, you're managing your
No,
expectations.
but I think it would be asking too much, Farooq, at
Why?
this particular moment, because of the dynamics of world politics. You see, look at the changing statements from President Trump. At one particular stage, when he meets Prime Minister Imran Khan at the White House, he said that he's willing to mediate.
Today,
And-
DJ Iyer was saying that President of America is a straight shooter. So don't underestimate what Donald Trump said earlier.
But when he meets Prime Minister Modi, he says that maybe unilaterally they can resolve this issue. And he said that,
Bilaterally,
that Prime Minister Modi has promised that he has handled the situation and would be handled it as well.
No, actually,
I think it's a very dicey situation.
So with due respect, when I look back at that statement, when he was saying he's under the impression that they are in control in Kashmir, situation is under control, that was some kind of sarcasm, equivalent to when he was praising Prime Minister Modi for his English. Right? You get the picture? So you have to see the nuances.
But Farooq, we'll have to see what options do we have. I think we are doing what we can do. We are talking to the global community. We are trying to convince them about the intentions of BJP government in occupied Kashmir. We are talking about ethnic cleansing. We are talking about impending genocide of the Kashmiris. And we have also stated that Mr. Modi is trying to copy the Hitler, and BJP is trying to copy fascism and Nazism. I think beyond that, the options Pakistan has are very limited. Security Council met, nothing came out. It was just a consultative kind of a meeting, and no statement was issued.
Yeah.
And now I think the
But,
Prime Minister has the opportunity
But that
to
doesn't
go to
mean
UNGA.
of course, UNGA is important, but that doesn't mean that you have to stop writing letters. You should be writing more letters to
But
actually.
I think government and the Foreign Office and the Foreign Minister are active. They have
He's
been,
very
they have
active
been-
and he's
they have
brilliant.
they have been trying to contact the diplomats in Islamabad. They have been trying to contact influential leaders, the foreign ministers, etc. I think would be unfair if we say that the government is not doing enough. Government is doing
Trying
whatever
its
they
best,
can. But I think still Pakistan has limitations. Given the past history, Farooq, if you look at the movement of the people of occupied Kashmir, it was labeled by almost every influential capital as a militant kind of if I use extreme words, a terrorist movement backed by Pakistan.
Because
but now,
one of the leaders of Pakistan at that time, I'm talking about 2001, 2002, was using the term cross-border terrorism. So the world is going to mirror that, right?
Exactly.
But I think that while we keep on managing our own expectations, and I think there's no more realist a country or pragmatist than in Pakistan, because we just look at the darker side of the picture a lot.
Farooq, one more thing.
Here's one thing regarding this comparison between Hitler and Modi. Hitler never had atom bombs, and that should worry you. Let us
just a second, I will take. And one more thing important, and that is it is going to be a very long struggle. I mean, we have got short-term goals and medium-term goals and the long-term goals. Liberation of Kashmir is, I think, will take much longer time.
I'll have to interject here. I'm told that the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab, has joined us on telephone. Qureshi Sahab, thank you very much, sir. Sir, can you tell us about the progress so far in highlighting the atrocities in Kashmir regarding Kashmir issues, sir?
Well, the atrocities are very serious. One is not aware of the factual position because there's an iron curtain, there's a communication blackout, but what little news is reaching us, it seems the situation is very serious. There's acute shortage of essential commodities. Life-saving drugs are not available. People have no access to hospitals. Children are not going to school. Universities, colleges are not functioning. attendance in government offices is minimal. Uh, Excessive use of force, continuous use of the pellet gun is being reported. There are surveillance drones. Young boys are being picked up, tortured, killed. Girls are being picked up, abused. So that's a very horrific picture that is coming out from there.
So you have been talking to various international leaders. The question now is, how has the response been so far? And how can Pakistan actually build on the country's case against India? It is important because India doesn't seem to stop, sir.
Well, I think the world is shocked. Uh, they had no idea that things could be this bad. As they are getting awareness of how serious the situation is, you can see the reaction coming out. I mean, you saw yesterday that thousands of people walked from Hyde Park to Parliament Square and from Parliament Square to the Indian High Commission to lodge their protest. Wherever you go in any European capital, you see that Pakistanis, Kashmiris, human rights activists are now publicly and openly protesting. You can see international human rights bodies like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch. They are also expressing their concern. Different leaders, foreign ministers that I've spoken to, and national leaders that the Prime Minister has spoken to have expressed their concern and are demanding immediate lifting of curfew, restoration of basic fundamental rights.
Sir, is it time to write another letter to the UNSC for another meeting?
Well, at the moment, we are concentrating on the Human Rights Council. The meeting will take place on the 9th and the 10th of September. That's an important forum. That's a forum that deals with issues of human rights abuse. So that is the most appropriate forum to raise the high-handedness that we are witnessing in Indian-occupied Kashmir. And then our concentration is going to be on the UN General Assembly, the UNGA session that starts on the 22nd of September. And the Prime Minister will be making a statement. He'll be engaging with other world leaders to highlight the situation in occupied Kashmir.
One last question, sir, regarding an idea that was floated by Sardar Masood Khan, the president of Azad Jammu and Kashmir. He said that maybe we can push for a humanitarian corridor like Syria and Yemen to provide provisions to the people of Kashmir who are incarcerated. Is there a possibility that Pakistan can frame a policy around this idea, sir?
Well, we have set up a Kashmir cell at the Foreign Office, and all ideas that are emanating from different quarters are being tabulated and discussed over there. We will look at all proposals, the pros and cons, practicality of that, and yes, if it makes sense, why not?
Shah Mahmood Qureshi, sir, Foreign Minister of Pakistan, thank you very much, sir, for talking to us. Thank you very much for your time. Let us come back to the studio. And Siddiqui Saab, I have to now change the topic and I have to focus on Afghanistan too, because that is also important and there is a lot going on that front as well. How optimistic are you that after these visits, especially the foreign ministers that we are seeing now coming to Pakistan, and the foreign ministers that are going to arrive here in a couple of days, how optimistic are you that we are near resolving or helping resolve the Afghan situation?
Very much optimistic because from our sources, whatever we have heard, that it's near to completion. that Taliban's and the Americans, they are on the same page at the moment. Pakistan is playing a vital role to resolve this matter, and our brotherly countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia, they are playing a role as well. So I'm very much optimistic that in the near future, Afghanistan matter will be resolved, and there will be
Saudi Arabia or Qatar? Because
Saudi
it
Arab-
was happening in Qatar, right?
Yeah, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE,
They all
this
have,
Middle East region.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
they are taking interest. They are doing their duty as well. So very soon we'll heard the good news.
Haven't we done our duty already?
We
just
done
have to
a lot.
ensure that they are in the same room.
Pakistan has already done more than the other countries have done, because we have given too many lives of our soldiers, civilians. Economically, we have lost a lot. So Pakistan is doing the right thing at the moment. And I'm very much optimistic, saying it again, that in the near future, this Afghan matter will be resolved and there would be a peace in this region. Let's see what happens on the eastern border, because they are thinking that when we will be free from the western border, they will be in trouble. So they are trying to make the things difficult at the moment.
Actually, the DG also said something similar.
Yeah.
But do you think that these Indian antics and semantics are actually meant to sabotage the Afghan peace process?
Exactly, because they were thrown out of this dialogues. So then they thought of something doing mischievous.
Okay.
And they definitely, before they were given an answer, they got a surprise in the
India-
shape of Abhinandan.
With
And
due
if they
respect,
do it-
India is never thrown out. It sort of has boxed itself out of everything because of the kind of government they have now, right?
That was the main problem. That's
Yeah.
why they are doing that atrocities in
Kundya
Kashmir.
Sahab, how optimistic are you regarding Afghanistan?
I'm not very optimistic. I have done my PhD thesis on Afghanistan.
Right.
But I pray and I wish peace is restored. And you know, Pakistan has sacrificed a lot, suffered a lot. And the criminal, I mean, sorry to say like that, is America there. When Soviet Union backed down, peace could be restored. They abandoned Afghanistan. Then Pakistan at huge cost. Taliban factor restored this, the peace came, poppy cultivation went down. Then what happened again? We
9/11
were
happened.
forced to take U-turn, whatever.
No, but 9/11 happened. You cannot ignore
But
that.
9/11 is a big lie. Even American
Okay,
professor.
I don't want to go to the lies. The
But-
concern right now is regarding what is happening in Afghanistan, right? And no matter who's responsible for the past, we have to look at the future. The question is, do you think that this agreement is going to hold in coming days if it is signed?
Yeah, it looks to me. It looks
So
to
you
me.
are optimistic.
But optimistic in the sense, I believe it will take some more time. Some more time.
How
but,
much time?
But if
How much time, sir?
it will take very short time if America gives framework for leaving Afghanistan.
It has almost suggested
If they
within
don't,
the agreement.
Taliban will insist on that. If they give, then I believe 3-4 more months if they give the framework.
Okay. So meanwhile, what happens to the impending Afghan elections? Because of
They are
election.
due in September, but they will be postponed, I believe.
Okay.
They will be postponed. It's difficult in September.
So
to me.
if an agreement actually takes place, first phase has been completed, now we are going to look at intra-Afghan dialogue, right? And there you have to come up with modalities. But what kind of government are you going to see as a result of this? Ashraf Ghani, also aided by Taliban, as an interim setup or extended setup, or something new?
Something new, I believe, with some collision. But one thing, the flexibility.
Without elections?
I believe without election it's possible, but election will be, will be like a condition, a target for even coalition government. Because Taliban not mentally very ready for election, Taliban. Taliban believe elections.
Naturally, they have never actually contested
But
an election.
one thing I like about Afghanistan, whatever case may be, since 2004, they are run constitutionally. Problems there, and now if peace restored, democracy may be strengthened.
Right. Javed Jadoon Sahab, one question for you, sir. Usually, I ask this question, and many of my guests actually missed this nuance. Afghanistan's crisis, is it merely about law and order, or is it primarily a crisis of governance and economics? Because Afghanistan has a war economy, a drug economy, these problems, they never had development economics.
I think if you look at the Afghan society, it's a very, very divided society. Warlordism, we have seen in the past as well. Economy, of course, I would agree with you. Economy and the issue of governance as well.
So were we 100 years ago, right?
It's
So every society has to evolve from somewhere.
You were asking that what kind of a government could be there. I think initially there's a likelihood that there would be a government of national consensus.
Okay.
And
Headed by whom?
it stays there for some time, and then I think they would go for elections.
Headed by whom, sir?
Government of consensus means
There has to be a man at the top.
represented by Pakhtuns and the other ethnic communities in Afghanistan.
Right.
And I think Mr. Ghani has no chance to be part of the new setup because
Why not?
because Taliban really detest him and they don't like him to be part of any new setup. So I think
No, but
there are
here's
many
the
other
question.
important figures.
Are Taliban or is Taliban in love with the Americans? It is not, right? But they still are talking.
But
So
for
they can talk to anyone.
I would say they are very pragmatic people, Taliban. They are negotiating from a position of strength right now. They are controlling more than 55 to 60% of Afghanistan.
Territory, okay.
And Americans know that. And even Taliban know that Americans are ready to cut loose and run from Afghanistan because of several reasons. Americans are exhausted, fatigued, and too many casualties, spending over $1 trillion on warfare efforts, and no results, the desired results I'm talking about. And secondly, Mr. Trump would like to go into the second term with resolving this long-standing, rather the longest war in American history,
this is important.
18 years war.
Okay.
So I think because of that particular point, Mr. Trump is also very pragmatic,
Keen
realistic,
also?
and keen as well. I think it is a win-win situation for
Okay,
both of them. Even Taliban are fatigued now.
Okay.
Even they would like to.
Yeah, we
conclude.
heard their leadership, their interviews actually, where they're saying that the next generation of Taliban are softies. They spend more time on mobile phones and computers rather than blowing themselves up.
Which
So
is good.
that actually tells you what exactly is going on. One question before I go, because I'm told that we have to conclude. If this deal is broached and it is successful, is it going to be a PR coup for Donald Trump, sir?
Absolutely.
He's going to win
100%.
2020?
100%.
Right.
It is going to be a huge achievement for President Trump.
The reason why
Ending,
Obama was elected and he failed to deliver.
He failed to deliver for ending longest war in American history is not a mean achievement.
It is a big achievement. It will be if it actually goes to fruition. But I'm told that we have to conclude the program. Javed Jadoon Sahab, thank you very much for your time. Dr. Mansoor Kundi Sahab, thank you very much for your time as well. Naseem Siddiqui Sahab, a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for being here. We, as you have listened to our participants, we have focused on three important aspects of what is going on around us and in the country. One, our foreign policy, how proactive it is. Second, what is going on in India and especially by extension in Kashmir. And third, Afghan situation. You are going to be the judge of the entire situation. But to be honest, there are times when policies actually are not important, principles are. And it is important to remember what the core principles of the civilized world are, especially humanitarian principles. When people are suffering, what was happening in Afghanistan, where people were suffering, Pakistan and the entire world community has tried to fix that problem. But what is going on in Kashmir and by extension even in Assam and other parts of India is troubling, shocking, and depressing. And if the world doesn't have a handle on this, it doesn't know how to actually handle this issue, then I think that our entire 70, 80 years of evolution since the Second World War seems to be nothing but an illusion. Let us see in coming days whether it is proven an illusion or we see any kind of transformation and a solution as well. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.